Every year since 2021, usually around this time of year, sometimes twice a year, I've debated the timing of my COVID vaccine and/or booster. I lead a delightfully low-risk lifestyle. Usually, I don't eat or drink inside public places. I work from home. I wear a mask when I go to places like the grocery store. So I would always try to time my vaccines to be about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks before I plan to do some higher risk activity, usually travel. This year, the metric for figuring out exactly the right timing includes an additional data point. Is the brain worm controlling the racist Nepo baby going to take my vaccines away at some point? And because that's a thing that I'm thinking about right now, I assume that some of you may be thinking about it too. So, especially if you live here in the United States. So I wanted to make this little video to help you out. I'll give you the TLDW right here at the top. Go get your flu and COVID vaccines right now, today, if you can. Just pause this video. Go get vaccinated. Come on back. Okay. Are vaccines going away? Hopefully not. But is it a possibility? Yes. It's also a possibility that they might get harder to find or harder to afford. Let's dive in. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over the data that irrefutably proves that the COVID vaccine, much like the flu vaccine, is a safe and effective way to protect yourself and those around you from days, sometimes weeks of mucus-filled, lung-destroying agony or hospitalization or death. I won't bother because it's 2025. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you're part of the handful of losers who comments on every video I publish asking me if I've died yet from all my vaccines. I have not. I'm so sorry. I also haven't gotten COVID according to all testing available. I rarely get sick at all. It actually rules. But I know this handful of people is just going to go on believing that COVID vaccines are deadly no matter what I say. They'll probably assume that my recent videos are deep fakes produced by Big Pharma to hide the fact that Rebecca died suddenly several years ago. They keep all the videos criticizing Big Pharma on the channel just so you don't suspect that anything's up. It's a multi-layered con. Okay. Talking to the normal people now. Hi. Currently, the most recent formulation of the mRNA COVID vaccine is available, which is great. The Food and Drug Administration approved them last month, but not for everyone. Despite them being safe and effective for most people, RFK Jr.'s anti-vaccine directive resulted in the approval only applying to high-risk individuals, people over the age of 65, and those with any one of a long list of conditions, from depression to obesity to having smoked at any point in your life up until now. So just show up at a pharmacy, do a semi-convincing smoker's cough, and boom, you're vaccinated, right? No, unfortunately, it's a bit more complicated than that. CVS, the largest pharmacy chain here in the United States, immediately upon that approval began offering the vaccinations to anyone who fit those requirements in 41 states, because those particular states do not have laws that restrict the ability of pharmacies to offer vaccinations without a prescription. So if you're in one of the other states, you got to find a doctor who's willing to write you a prescription, and then you go get your vaccination, right? No, it's a bit more complicated than that. Many state governments have introduced legislation to open up access to the vaccines in a number of ways. For instance, in some places, pharmacists themselves can now write a prescription and then give you the vaccine. Or there's a telehealth monitor at the pharmacy that allows a doctor to give you a prescription remotely. Maine, one of the states that had laws that did restrict vaccinations to those requiring a prescription, issued a standing order overriding that. And California, Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington have joined together in an alliance to provide their own guidance on vaccines. So if you're in one of those states, just show up at the pharmacy and get your vaccine, right? No, it's still complicated. Like, for instance, no one knows what's happening in Oregon right now. Get your shit together, you guys. What's going on? Literally no one knows. But everyone everywhere seems to be running into roadblocks and individual exceptions, which is by design. The chaos is always by design with this administration. The Republicans want you to get COVID and die, and they'll do it in any way they can, including bureaucratic incompetence. Oh yeah, and none of what I've said thus far is about whether or not insurance is going to cover some or all of the cost of your vaccination now that it's no longer considered part of an emergency order. You might be able to access the vaccine without a prescription, but your insurance might decide that they don't want to pay for it. We really do have the best healthcare system in the world here in the US, don't we? Not to beat a horse that has already died from an uncontrollable horsepox epidemic, but we're talking about a disease that can only be stopped by getting as many people vaccinated as possible. Why on earth would we want to make that easy? So to make matters worse, at the end of this week, the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices will meet to debate whether or not you should get a COVID vaccine. Now, that previous approval I talked about came from the FDA, and that's where CVS is currently getting their marching orders. This panel's decision will affect what insurers will cover, what kids can get for free, and it also usually would end up affecting state and local laws surrounding vaccine availability. And good news, but RFK has stacked this year's panel with a bunch of COVID and vaccine deniers and at least one podcaster. So if you are in a red state where you currently do have access to get a vaccine, there is a chance that whatever batshit nonsense comes out of this panel might mean that if you want to get a vaccine next week, you'll have to visit some other better run state, just to get through the season without catching a virus that will knock you on your ass, kill a few more neurons, and, kill you if you're immunocompromised or very unlucky. And yet, despite the fact that our federal government is no longer actively monitoring or even acknowledging that COVID exists, wastewater reports do show that some states are currently at or near the peak of their summer spike. And history tells us, there's probably going to be a winter spike in a few months too. And on that point, please remember the Swiss cheese method of not getting or spreading COVID. You should get vaccinated, but also please do wear a mask when you're in grocery stores and places like that. Try to avoid restaurants and bars inside, especially when there is a spike currently happening, which you can tell by monitoring wastewater numbers. It's not perfect, but it should help you make smarter decisions. Also, get tested. There are still COVID tests out there available. And if you are sick with anything, please stay home. Please. Okay, so anyway, I know all of this information is very confusing, but please don't get overwhelmed and give up. Again, that is the point. This administration wants to cause chaos. They want you to give up. Your best course of action is to just ask around at your local pharmacies, see if they're offering vaccines, if you need a prescription, and if your insurance will cover it. If they ask you if you have risk factors for dying from COVID, say yes. Reports from friends in other states is that there have been no follow-up questions after that and no requests for proof. Just, do any of these factors increase your risk? Yeah? Okay, great. Here's your vaccine. Have a nice day. Now, I know that some people are waiting on Novavax, which is the more traditional non-mRNA COVID vaccine. Because some people have worse reactions to the mRNA vaccine. Novavax did get the same FDA approval as the mRNA vaccines, and it seems to work just as well. It's just as effective. But it may be more difficult for you to find. I've had every kind of vaccine, and I react the same way to all of them. So I can't sit here and tell you that you should just suck it up and get whatever's available. I'm optimistic that the vaccines will be available all season long. I'm just pretty sure that things are going to get more confusing and less certain. And I personally thrive when I have a plan in place that I can see through. That's why I was vaccinated literally today for both flu and COVID, so that I don't even have to think about it until next year. At which point I'll probably have died in the horsepocalypse. The horsepocalypse. That was easier to type out than it was to say. Anyway, just looking on the bright side, I might not have to worry about it next year either. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.